What's up, folks? I'm your host, Konrad, on Wednesday Night Reviews, and today I'm joined by Jason of Bleeker St Comics. We're here to talk about their comic shop. So thanks for joining the show, Jason.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Perfect. So let's jump right into it. So I always do like to ask, how did you get your start in comics?
All right. My start in comics, actually, I guess like most 90s kids, I guess it would have to really, Batman, the TV animated series, you're going to go with X-Men. I'm a little older than that. So my start in comics really happened with the 70s Spider-Man TV series, with the great song and the terrible lack of spider movement. And that's sort of how I started. And it was, they've been pushing that stuff on my generation for a really, really long time. And I'm going to tell you, it worked really well when I was a kid. Coming from a terrible background that I came from, I won't even get into that. Comics were a good release, and really it's just sort of a fantasy. You wish you could be some of these guys to take care of business. You wish you could help other people. You wish you could help yourself. Things like that. And I guess that's really how my comic journey started. My first comic was a Star Wars comic, though, and it didn't happen until many, many years later.
Oh, okay. At what age then were you like collecting actual comics?
Comic books, I would have to say probably 11 years old I started.
Okay.
My sister used to buy us chocolate bars and come over and stuff like that. And she came over one day and she had comic books behind her back and told me and my brother to pick a hand each. And I got a couple of Star Wars books, man. And I'm a huge, huge Star Wars fan. So that started me off right and well, I think.
Beautiful. Thank you kindly to your sister.
Yeah,
That's
man.
fantastic. And obviously we're here to talk about your store today, Bleeker St Comics. So how did that start? How did we go from an 11-year-old with some comics to all of a sudden you've got a shop, you've got tons of CGC behind you, and a bunch of other really cool stuff?
That is a really crazy journey, and that really just happened, my man. It happened right at the beginning of COVID, really. A few months before that, perhaps 6 months before that, I always had a few boxes kicking around of my own.
Okay.
But I had bought a Slab, and the guy sold me 3 full long boxes full of absolute junk with it. And I paid, because I didn't want to pay $500 for a Slab, so he threw in these boxes of junk, and I paid it, and I still have the Slab. It's a beautiful Slab, but I sold these 3 boxes for a lot more than I paid for the Slab and the boxes together.
Ooh.
And honestly, that's sort of how that all became a thing as far as selling comics went. Never really thought about selling them before because, they've always just been an enjoyment. But turns out I'm pretty good at selling them, and I enjoy that as well.
Cute. If you don't mind my asking, what was the Slab?
Oh, the Slab. It is Web of Venom 1, Carnage Born. It's a 9/8 signed by Scon, and it's a Virgin variant.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, it's a beauty. Yeah, it's a beauty. It's a real beauty.
That's amazing. And so, when I first came into contact with yourself and Bleeker St, if I'm not mistaken, it was just an online store.
Yes.
Mostly through Facebook. I saw you've got a little bit on eBay. Obviously, the physical store is taking up most of your time. How did that sort of evolve? Like, what was your decision making process in going from pure eBay, or was it sort of at beginning, was it word of mouth that then became, I'm pretty good at this, and it became
It really did. It's sort of, I think I just went over my first post on Facebook just the other day, and I've got 6 tiny little short boxes, and it says, if anyone wants comics, I'm selling comic books now. Message me for details. That was my first terrible attempt at selling comic books online. I know much better than that now. Thankfully, I've been laughed at and scorned on many a comic book website when I first started on how I wrote things and how I presented things, and
Mhm.
you just got to learn that part eventually. But that was my first attempt, and then it just sort of grew from there, my friend.
Perfect. And just recently, so when folks go on to say your Instagram, they'll be able to see sort of photos of your first booth that you had at. I don't actually know the name of the flea market, but it's at 46 Turner Crescent, I believe. Correct?
Yeah, the Niagara Flea Market at Turner Crescent. It's a big flea market. It's a good flea market.
Yeah, and I think oh, what was it? Admission's like 5 cents or something. It might be more now. Maybe
Yeah,
it's a quarter or something.
it's not very much. It's like 90 cents or 85 cents or something like that. It's pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's nothing to get in, and you do get entered into like a 50-50. It's pretty cool. Um, and yeah, so your first booth then that you had when I was there not too long ago, you had I think 10 long boxes like you do
Yes,
right
yeah,
now. You've got the slabs in the back. For those
yeah,
watching who aren't familiar with the idea of a slab, it's just the term used for a CGC graded comic. Um, and of course you had the glass display case with some more in there. Um, you've moved on though to a bigger booth, which is
yeah.
very bright and colorful. So tell us about it.
Well, the small booth, it was great. It was certainly good for money. It's not too expensive to have a small booth at the flea market. It didn't offer us enough in the way to service customers. We couldn't have more than one person in the booth at a time. We certainly couldn't have any friends visiting. If they're, we have friends that don't necessarily buy comics, but they like to support us, so they'll come by and say hi and whatnot, which
Mm-hmm.
is great. We definitely appreciate that. And we couldn't have them come by. It was sort of people waiting on the outside to come in, especially with COVID now. So nobody can be 2 feet apart from each other anymore.
Yeah.
So you know, and the fact that this new booth was so much more open and brighter, and we could do a lot more with it. The artwork was a big deal for us too, just to brighten that up and just you know give us sort of a name.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, one thing I absolutely love is just the name that you have. So in the back of your booth, and I'll put up an image of it, is now spray painted beautifully, just Bleeker Street, with your logo, which is kind of a gas mask. Um, and it's yeah, you're right. It's just a ton of color that really makes your shop stand out. And you've also along the walls, I believe, you have more paint and iconography of, I'll say, comics, right? I think you've got the Miles Morales Spider-Man symbol. You've got like the bamboo bow,
Oh yeah,
all sorts of fun
got
stuff.
the Zap symbol for Zap Comics because hey man, I love Zap Comics.
Perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, when it comes to comics, as we can see behind you, there's a bunch. What kind of comics can people expect to find at Bleecker Street?
Well, right now we generally have a huge array of Bronze Age to modern age comics. I would say basically from the early 70s all the way up until about 2014, we have a lot of runs, a lot of that. If you're looking for runs, of course, most people now are just looking for key comics. But if you're looking for runs, if you're looking for things that you've missed, if you're looking for back issues, we've got a lot of that stuff. 15,000 comics worth of that stuff, actually.
Wow. Um, wow. Are you like buying private collections or something like that? Like how does one go about
We are.
amassing that? Okay, so you are. Okay.
We definitely buy private collections. People we're more known for it now, so people actually come searching for us. I don't have to go searching as much as I used to.
Awesome.
It's the benefit of having a shop, to be honest. People, they're always looking to sell stuff, so they'll come to me. Sadly, I'm a really honest bloke, so I generally have to turn people down because I don't have that kind of money.
That's fair, yeah. especially if someone comes with like a huge run that could
Oh,
be tens of thousands of dollars or
somebody
something.
came at me with EC Comics last week, and I was like, listen, man, I would love to buy these off you, but really go home, check them out online, and put them on eBay right away because you can go buy a house.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It's well, he can. They're EC Comics and they're in brilliant condition, man. They're all like the
Wow.
old Tales from the Crypt and all that stuff. And it's like, go get that, man. Go do that.
Yeah, exactly. There's clearly, yeah, the demand for it. Awesome. And I always like to ask. So, like, I've come to you when you had your first booth. I'll have to come back soon for the next booth, the bigger booth. When I sort of fingering through the long boxes of comics there, you had a really good mix of stuff. Definitely not 15,000 comics worth. As we mentioned,
No,
it was
no.
a smaller booth. Um, do you now have like your full stock in the booth whenever someone's there, or are you still having to be constrained a little bit?
I could bring a lot more comics there, but I've worked in the retail industry for a long time, and I work for a specific store now that does a very good job at putting a lot of new items on the floor every day. And what they'll do, they'll take off the old stock and they'll put on new stock, and it happens every day there. We can't afford to do that at Bleeker Street Comics because that's just ridiculous. But we can do it once a month where we can keep about 16 boxes in and then start taking 4 or 5 boxes and replacing them. That way, our regulars that they will keep coming. Basically, they have boxes to look through. They have more comics that they can buy, and then maybe they'll also go, hey, you had this comic here last week and it's not here anymore. And it sort of lets them know that, hey, things aren't going to be here forever as well, right? It's a bit of a sales strategy, but it's a good one, I think.
Yeah, and I mean from the hunt perspective, from as someone who does like highly enjoy being able to go through and oh, here's that gem, here's this. It definitely keeps it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it gives that like thrill, I guess, of the hunt, which
The
I
thrill of the
love.
hunt, that's a big deal for some comic collectors. Most comic collectors, actually. There's the odd person that likes everything in order, but most collectors, they enjoy hunting through a box and they enjoy finding a good treasure. So,
Absolutely, myself among them. Now, one thing that Bleecker Street does that I've never seen before, you press comics.
yes,
So,
yes.
what the heck is pressing comics? What's involved? What does it do? And how did you get into it?
Well, I've always been a guy that likes to restore things. I restore old furniture and things. So it sort of just goes in with my meticulous nature. And when I went around, when you sort of start trying to think about a store or think about selling comics and whatnot, you sort of go around and you look at what people aren't doing, and what people aren't offering as far as comics are concerned. And nobody of note was offering any kind of pressing or cleaning. Of course, pressing and cleaning is fixing a comic book, making it presentable so you can get a better grade at CGC. Some people like it for their personal collection. Some people like it because they can sell the book
Mm-hmm.
at a bigger cost, right? That's just for the people that don't know what pressing and cleaning is. Um, it's something that you should look into if you're trying to get your book CGC. That's all. And we offer that. And because nobody else around here thought about it, nobody else offers it.
Yeah, like that was one thing where when I saw that you did it, it was like, oh, that's kind of a cool thing. Like I understand the idea, right? Like so if your book has like creases in it or folds or whatever, the spine's not, it flares like it does. You can kind of press that out and make it a little
Yeah, yeah.
nicer. Never, I wouldn't think anyway, perfect again, but you make it look a lot
It
hell of a lot
depends on the
better.
fold. It depends on the crease.
Oh, okay. Um,
Um, if it's a light fold or a light crease, it can pretty well come out perfect. If it's got a color break, then you're basically stuck with a flat book with a color break in it.
I mean, flat's better than nothing, right?
That's it, man.
um, And I the other thing then, obviously, because you've mentioned it yourself there for the CGC, do you ship off for CGC, or is it something you're looking into doing?
We did offer that at first, and we still are offering it mostly to friends and family right now. CGC is a hard nut to crack. They take a long time to get your books back, and people are not nearly as patient as I am. So I get a lot of nasty emails and messages saying, "Where's my books?" I'm like, "They're in Florida, my friend."
Yep.
And and CGC won't message you either. It takes them they get your books. They're like, "We got your books." So that's the message I can send out to people. Hey, they got our books. And then they won't message for another 3 months and say, okay, your books are in now. I'm like, okay, the books are in now. So people don't like it. I don't like it. Makes me really uncomfortable and nervous. So we want to offer it, and we want to do that well. We just want to do it a little better than we are right now. I think we need a little more money behind us before we can offer that as a full-time service. But for friends and family, yeah, we'll definitely do that, because we send books away all the time, right?
I was gonna ask. So when you do say buy a personal collection and find those amazing gems, that is then of course you're pressing and sending them off. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did hear because I haven't done it myself. I only have one slab that was gifted to me, which is I love it. But I've heard in various Facebook groups and stuff I follow, like right now it's something like a 2 year turnaround or something crazy like that. I imagine, yeah, like I know I wouldn't be. Like if I send off some of my books, I'd be like, I want them back, please. The fact that you can wait, good for you, because obviously you get a great turnaround on it.
But even then, like, I don't know, CGC and comics, that's a whole like sort of nest of worms in itself. There's a group of people that will never ever do that. There's a group of people that will only do that. So we offer it just because it's part of the comic industry. I'm never gonna say, yeah, you should CGC your comics, man. I'll never say that to somebody, because I'm gonna tell you, I've got comics right now that I can look at the wall. I'm like, man, I wish I could open that comic.
Yes.
wish I could read that, man.
100%. Like that's one thing where I understand the value, especially for like the super huge key issues, the ones that sell for like hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. Preserve them, right? Like museum them. They're culturally important when it comes to like modern pop culture, and
Yeah.
I get that. But yeah, no, I'm with you where like I've heard it put two ways really well. Once from another comic shop owner, he said, I don't like it because it basically turns your comic into a playing card or a collecting card, which that's kind of what it does.
That's basically it.
Yeah, and then the other one was Frank Miller, where I heard him speak at Fan Expo the one year, and basically he was like, "You're suffocating your comics, so let them out of their Saran wrap." And it was like, "Oh shit, okay, enjoy what you have." So I hear you there.
It's like I said, it's a hard nut to crack, right? Again, we don't. I try not to advocate it or be against it, because there's just too much argument. But we definitely will do it for friends and family, especially again. And you're right. Heroes are a pop culture thing. Like, it's huge. Spider-Man is one of the biggest sold items since 1970. Him, McDonald's, and somebody else. Like, there's Spider-Man is massive as far as what he represents in pop culture. So,
well, like exactly right. Like you could show anyone the Spider-Man symbol or him himself, and everyone on the planet will be, "Oh, that's Spider-Man."
everybody would know.
Yeah.
Everybody's, Superman, huge pop culture reference. Like, it is what it is. And I think it's, as far as North American culture go, come on, let's be honest. Do we really have a lot of culture? We got to stick. We got to keep with what we have, and that's these superheroes are our culture, my friend.
100%. No, I did want to ask. Bleeker Street. I know it from like Sherlock Holmes. What's in a name? How did you decide on Bleeker Street?
Bleeker Street Comics. Well, you got to figure the coolest comic book character around. Well, not my favorite, but one of the coolest comic book characters around is Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange happens to live on Bleeker Street.
Yes, he
and
has.
we just sort of stole his address, and decided that decided that we wanted to be on Bleeker Street too.
That's amazing. I love it. Because yeah, it's definitely in pop culture in general. Like I mentioned, Sherlock Holmes, Doctor Strange lives there, and I think there's one other character that lives on a Bleecker Street. But it is definitely a name where when I saw it, I was like, why do I know that? Like, because I'd never seen your store before, but I was like, I know Bleecker Street. What the heck is that? So I think that's fantastic.
It's definitely given us a little hand up in that regard. It's the name is I don't know, people, it's good. It's a good name.
Yeah.
People have dug it. It's sort of it's simple. It's good. I don't know. It seems to work really well. People like it, so I'm happy with it.
Perfect. And I did want to ask the gas mask. Um, Going from Doctor Strange and stuff like that to the gas mask, where did that come from?
We were born out of COVID, my friend. We were
Okay.
literally right in the pandemic. And on my door handle in my living room, there's a painter's mask that looks exactly like the mask on the skull.
Oh.
And that just sort of happened. I really like the lightning bolt. Is I like Harry Potter quite a bit. So lightning
Yeah.
bolt is all Harry Potter, and the triangles. I want people to think I'm part of the Illuminati, so I put a triangle in there.
Love it.
Yeah, I hope somebody writes it down eventually. Like in 20 years, these guys are part of the Illuminati.
That's amazing. That is okay, one between your logo and your name. That is like the most pop culture referencing comic shop I think I've come to yet. Right, like in St. Catharines itself, you've got mostly comics, which
Yeah,
it's pretty straightforward. When you walk in that store, what do you see? Mostly comics. There's some
mostly
other stuff,
comics.
but that's it. Sketchbooks comics, which is sort of my main comic shop, is I don't actually know where he's got the name. I think the guy who runs it just said he really liked it.
I can tell you why he got the name. Did he not mention it when he was interviewed by you? I know.
I believe he did. I think I've just had enough interviews go by.
I know why he did that. He's got a sketchbook, a bunch of sketchbooks
Yes.
that he got filled up before he opened up his shop, and they're awesome sketchbooks, man. I
Yes.
haven't seen them personally, but my partner Ben has. He deals with sketchbook a lot, and he's like, wow, these sketches are amazing.
Yeah. As a frequent customer there, I have seen them, and yeah, they're. I must admit they're great. So
Right?
definitely,
Yeah,
right. It's a simple reference to the owner. Whereas
yeah.
for yourself, with obviously with the mask, your mask that you use during COVID, um, I love that your name is so referential to pop culture, but yourself as well. Um, and I did want to ask because I'm not sure myself. Obviously, Jason, you're the owner of Bleeker Street Comics. Your partner there, Ben, is he like a part owner? Is he an employee? Is he a friend that helps you out a lot?
Well,
Um,
he's a part owner. Um, we're like he's almost a full time part owner at this point. We're still working out the details in that, but he's a great dude. It's great to work with that guy. He knows more probably about comics than I do, to be honest.
oh
Don't
wow.
tell him I said that. Um, oh shit, he's probably gonna watch this. Um, so yeah, he knows more about comics than I do. He reads a lot of comics. He likes really old comics, which I love about him.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, man, he was doing the same thing I was around the same time. He just wasn't quite as organized as me, and we just decided to sort of bring our ships together and go under one banner. And I think it's a friendship and a partnership that can work out pretty well.
Amazing. It's so good to hear.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've known Ben for a long time. It's just who would have thought that we'd be trying to own a business together, you know?
Yeah, really. And I mean, for your business, I have to say it's grown quite steadily. So as we mentioned earlier, it started off as just you putting a post on I think it was Facebook where you're like, "Hey, I'm trying to sell some comics," and now you've got a frankly, I think one of the larger booths at like where you are. You've got it all decked
Yeah.
out and painted in what, a year and a bit, right? Or is it under a year?
Uh, what's that? Sorry.
Um, so from the start of your business, where you've posted on Facebook,
Yeah.
I'm trying to sell some comics, to where you are now, which is like you've got a rather large booth, you've got it decked out with your name and all sorts of well, like we said, color and symbols. Um, that's pretty rapid growth. Have you been at this for a full year yet? Like, I know it's the start of COVID, but we're a year and a half or so into COVID now.
It's it's been pretty hard actually, to be honest. As far as our growth is concerned, um, but we really believe in what we're doing.
Mhm.
So we're basically sinking everything we have into this, and it's sort of paying off, to be honest. Um, it's we're getting a good reception from the community so far. Community here, especially in St. Catharines, where we live. Um, we're starting to get a little more recognized outside of St. Catharines in some of the Facebook groups and things like that. So it's hard. It's definitely difficult, especially during COVID, because we were shut down for a while. But I think we're going to make a large comeback, and I think this winter is going to be awesome, man. I really think it's going to be. I think it's going to go really well. We
Amazing.
uh, we got some new stuff here, and there's a lot of it, man.
Beautiful. I love to hear that. I love the smile, Jason. Clearly, you love what you're doing, and I want you to keep going.
100%, man. 100%. Yeah, I honestly, it's the best thing that I've ever done. I'm really, really happy with it. Really proud of it, to be honest. That's hard for me to say because I'm not too proud of it very much, but very proud of Bleeker Street, that's for sure.
I think you absolutely should. Um, Now, at the moment, if someone were to come on by the shop, what are some of like I guess the key issues, the big heavy hitter items that they might find for anyone out there watching this who might want to pick up some cool comics?
Well, we usually try and go like we have everything that's gonna be hot and that was hot and that might be hot. So we usually try and put that stuff up on the wall. Like right now, we've got what is it, Weapon X? I guess Marvel Presents 72 up there. We've got really some 12 center Batmans. We've got a lot of good CPV, like Scarlet Witch and Vision 1 to 4 in CPV, Canadian price variant for those of you who are not aware of that term. There's so much good stuff. It's really hard. We've got Wolverine 1 on the wall right now.
Yes.
There's yeah, Flash Gordon is on the wall for those of you that like older stuff. I'm a big, huge fan of that space drama from the 60s. So Flash Gordon's on the wall. I think I just sold a Buck Rogers
Oh,
last
cool.
week. That was on the wall. Literally everything, man. We have literally, it ranges so hard, and we've got a lot of just great comics. I can't even describe it. Every time I look at my collection, I want to buy it.
Yeah, that's the worst part, right? You get to bring all this stuff together,
It
and it's
is. It
like,
really is.
right? It's like, do I really want to let this go? I could just keep this part.
I I keep looking at it. I'm like, man, why is that? Who put this in here? But it is what it is, and I'm pretty happy about it.
Good, and it clearly, like you said, business is doing well, even with the restraints of COVID in there. Um, for now, like you've literally just got in this new booth in the last couple weeks. Um, is there
Yeah, yeah.
plans to go to like a full time store? Do you want to wait it out and see how the bigger booth does? What sort of, for Jason, what's the end goal at the moment?
Well, we've decided that we're going to keep that booth forever, no matter what we do.
Oh,
So that booth will always be open at the flea market. As long as Bleeker Street is open, that booth will be open.
okay.
Um, because it's a great booth. We love it. We like the people there. It was our start in the comic book industry, and we've got some regulars there already, and we don't want to let them down either. So, we got to stay there, but we do want to start a store. There is a plan to have a store. Um, Again, we don't want to step on anyone's toes here in St. Catharines, so we're not exactly sure which direction we're going to go into. We've discussed different ideas, definitely back issue comics, a huge collection of back issue comics, more than I can even say, but maybe some cosplay stuff, video games. We're not quite exactly sure what's going to be the surrounding area, but it's going to be comic related, gaming related, industry related, because that's where I'm comfortable, to be honest. That's, you know, I like the stories. I like being in that environment. It's a good feeling for me.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, one thing that I've always liked that I think sets you apart from the other shops in town, so from Mostly Comics from Sketchbook, I find for Mostly Comics, what I like to go for them, what I like going there for is they have just this insane tidal wave of back issues, right? Which is great. And they have like
Yeah,
2 floors of it, which is like cool. I dig that at Sketchbook for me, like especially for me, they've got a lot of the gaming stuff like D&D as well as like new comics that are coming out every week. And what I found that I liked about your shop the most was one, because it's smaller right now anyway, it's easier to get into, obviously. You had some really sick key issues, which I've picked a few up of, stuff that I liked. You've got
nice,
the CGC,
nice.
yeah, you've got the CGC, which, to my knowledge, to no other level are the other stores doing. I think Sketchbook has a few, but not intentionally, right? It's just it
Yeah,
happened. Whereas you seem to more intentionally have them. Plus, you've got that pressing, which is nice.
we're gonna hope that pays off for us. We're hoping that pays off.
Oh, I think it will, especially when it comes to like the collector crowd. So yeah, I definitely think you're not, to my knowledge anyway, you're not stepping on anyone's toes, and I wish you all the best
That's,
for it.
yeah, like we, you know, I'm trying to stay away from. I like. I honestly really was hoping to get into new comic books at some point, and we still might do that. I just don't know how that's going to go over in St. Catharines, because again, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. People have their businesses already established, but I think there's still a need for me in here in the Niagara region with pressing, with back issues, with cosplay and costuming and Halloween stuff. I think we could make a good mark here. I think we could be a really good store for collectors to come just
Mm-hmm.
sort of hang out and you know, be a part of the family, really.
Oh, 100%, yeah. And I mean, like you mentioned, obviously you want to get into the costuming. I don't think anyone in Niagara, to my knowledge anyway, does that. And especially if you've got the knowledge and the skills for repairing furniture, you very well might be able to apply that to costuming and things. So you could come in some really fun and interesting ways. Um, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you could do there. Halloween is a big market in particular, just in the retail industry. How so big? You have no idea. Places make this Halloween stuff. Most places can actually pay their rent just by selling 2 months worth of Halloween stuff
Oh wow,
for the year.
that is wild.
Yeah, so Halloween's a big market. It's
Hmm.
a big market, and it's a cool market because if you go on my Instagram, you'll see that I really dig Halloween, and I like dressing up a bit. So you know, I've done a good Joker. I do the Crow once in a while.
Yep.
I think right now I'm doing a little hippie image from the '70s. I'm not sure what's happening here, but we're working it out.
Well, we'll definitely see what you're doing up. Give it, what are we at? August, so 2 more months, and we'll see what you got for Halloween.
Yeah, yeah. We want to get into arcade as well. Like we want to put about 5 or 6 arcade games once we get an actual store. So we've got definite plans. We're interested in something. We just don't know exactly what the final adult's gonna look like.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like we've discussed, you're relatively speaking like you're a fresh baby size business, right? You're growing great, which is awesome, but there's so much you could take it with, and clearly you've got the ideas moving, which I like. And I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
wait to see what it looks like when you finally get like a full, formal shop space, which will be fun.
Well, I'm curious. Like I see a lot of great comic warehouses. That's sort of the idea of what I'm trying to go for, but we'll see where it lands. You know, we'll see where it lands.
For sure, yeah. Um, now, I do always like to sort of end my interviews on two questions. So one, for the folks out there in Niagara region or anywhere really, um, what would you want them to know?
Wow, that's a great question. What would I want them to know? You know what? Collect what you love. That's all I got to say. Just collect what you guys love. I don't know if that's what you want to know, but collect what you love.
I think that's great. And then my last question really is always, what is it that you're reading at the moment when it comes to whether it's fiction, comics, whatever it is? What are you reading?
Well, I'm reading Dune right now, and I'm reading Red Room, and I'm reading Blade Runner 2099.
Oh, all right.
I like indie stuff. Obviously, I still collect my Batmans and my Superman stuff, but the books that I'm most interested in reading generally have more of an adult storyline to them, right? So, being an adult that I am, it's usually a little older for me. But because I still love my superheroes, I still collect that stuff. And there's a few storylines that are good. The Joker's really good right now.
Yeah, the Joker series, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's very good.
awesome. Yeah. And quick question. Dune. Is it Dune like a print book or is it
Oh
comic
yeah,
form?
yeah, but
Awesome.
it's Dune the comic. But yeah, man, I love
Oh.
Dune. Period. And Dune the comic is I think it's called House of Atreides. This one.
Oh, okay.
And it's really good. It's really good.
That's sick. And I
I read
think
every. I'll read every Dune thing ever. You just. I love Dune. I will read anything Dune.
perfect. Oh, then I'm curious then, as someone who clearly, like you said, you love Dune. You've obviously read the books, the comics. Are you excited for the movie?
Yeah, the first movie was pretty terrible. And it didn't age well at all. So I'm really hoping that they do a good job with this. They'll probably screw it up though. It's my childhood. They've been doing a really great job of messing up my childhood for years now. Pretty sure Disney owns half my childhood.
I think yeah. For a lot of people, I think that's the case, and I think a lot of people would agree with you. Um, I'm definitely excited for the cast, but yeah,
The cast looks good. I've seen a few bits. I try not to watch trailers, eh?
yeah,
Um, because they always wreck movies for me. So I really try not to watch trailers. But I'm slipping on this one because I'm really interested to see what it's like. The color looks great. The cinematography looks really good. So I'm hoping that's what they did with it. I'm hoping they made a really cinematographic like that kind of a movie, much like Quentin Tarantino did in his last cowboy movie that he did. Very very beautiful views, really great camera work. So I'm hoping they did some of that because it's Dune.
yes, absolutely. Um, well, Jason, absolutely, thank you so much for coming on and speaking with me today about Bleeker Street Comics.
Hey, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Um, I appreciate being on here. It was really awesome. Thanks for having me on. It's like, I don't know, it's pretty cool, man. Sort of makes me blush a little bit. Um, as far as Bleeker Street Comics goes, come on down, check us out in the Niagara region. If you can't do that, check us out on Instagram. If there's nothing there on Instagram, because hey, man, let's be honest, I can't put up 15,000 comics. Just tell me what you want. We'll go looking for you. Just want to chat comics? I'm always available to just chat, just chat comics.
Love it. Well, folks, you've heard it here. Reach out to Jason. Let him know what you're hunting for. Let him know what you want. If he's got it, I'm sure he'll give it to you. If not, he can find it. And Jason, thanks so much, man. Have a good one.